Summer 1943. Adolf Hitler dissolves productive relationships with over 30 experienced military commanders while Germany fights on three major fronts requiring coordinated strategic planning. This is a World War II decision story about the political breakdown that made defeat inevitable. Historians still debate why Hitler systematically removed military professionals who questioned operational decisions during 1943 and 1944. The decision to prioritize political loyalty over military competence would eliminate Germany's capacity for effective strategic adaptation during World War II's critical turning point years. Adolf Hitler maintained absolute control over German military appointments throughout World War II. His authority extended to selecting commanders for all major operational positions. The German General Staff traditionally emphasized professional military education and merit-based advancement. This system had produced effective commanders during World War I and early World War II campaigns. But relationships between Hitler and senior commanders deteriorated after 1941. The invasion of the Soviet Union created strategic disagreements about objectives and tactics. Hitler blamed generals for winter 1941 setbacks outside Moscow. He dismissed Field Marshal Walther von Brauchitsch in December 1941. Hitler then assumed personal command of the German army in addition to overall military leadership. This concentration of authority eliminated institutional checks on Hitler's operational decisions. By 1943, Germany defended against Soviet offensives in the east. Allied forces operated in North Africa and prepared for operations against Italy. The Battle of the Atlantic threatened Germany's maritime access to resources. Germany's strategic position required sophisticated coordination across multiple theaters by 1943. The Eastern Front consumed most of Germany's ground forces and resources. Approximately 3 million German troops operated against Soviet forces. The Mediterranean theater demanded significant forces after Allied landings in Sicily. Western Europe required garrison forces anticipating potential Allied invasion. Strategic coordination became increasingly critical as Germany fought defensively. The stakes extended beyond individual battle outcomes to overall resource allocation. This changed everything. Hitler's command style emphasized detailed tactical control rather than strategic delegation. He insisted on approving operational decisions at increasingly lower levels. This micromanagement conflicted with traditional German military practice. The General Staff system had evolved to enable rapid adaptation through delegated authority. But the situation was more complex than simple command philosophy differences. July 1943. Hitler dismissed multiple senior commanders following the Kursk offensive's failure. Field Marshal Erich von Manstein proposed flexible defensive operations on the Eastern Front. Hitler rejected these recommendations and removed officers who supported strategic withdrawals. General Heinz Guderian returned to active duty as Inspector General of Armored Troops. But his authority was limited to training and equipment rather than operational command. Hitler systematically replaced professional military advisors with more politically compliant officers. The criteria for advancement shifted from combat effectiveness to personal loyalty. Officers who questioned Hitler's tactical directives faced dismissal or worse consequences. This created command environment where independent strategic thinking became professionally dangerous. But planners missed something critical about organizational learning capacity. Removing experienced commanders eliminated institutional knowledge about what tactics actually worked in combat. Autumn 1943 revealed immediate effects of the command structure changes. German defensive operations became less flexible as field commanders feared unauthorized decisions. Officers requested approval for tactical adjustments that previously would have been routine. This created delays that Soviet forces exploited during offensive operations. The Battle of the Dnieper in September-November 1943 demonstrated the coordination problems. German forces failed to execute effective defensive withdrawals to prepared positions. Units remained in exposed forward positions awaiting orders that arrived too late. The Italian campaign showed similar command dysfunction starting in September 1943. German forces in Italy lacked clear strategic direction after Mussolini's removal. By December 1943, a hidden problem emerged in officer corps morale itself. German military effectiveness declined systematically through 1944 despite technological advantages. New tank designs like the Panther and Tiger possessed superior combat capabilities. German troops maintained high training standards and tactical proficiency at unit level. But operational coordination deteriorated as command relationships became dysfunctional. How did Germany lose its reputation for military excellence despite superior equipment and training? The answer would reveal the critical importance of command structure over material factors. Military effectiveness depends on organizations that can adapt to changing circumstances. The German system in 1944 selected leaders for political reliability rather than adaptability. This created systematic inability to respond effectively to Allied operations. Field commanders couldn't adjust plans when situations changed because they lacked authority. Meanwhile, Hitler's headquarters lacked current information to make informed decisions remotely. What most historians agree on is that political breakdown destroyed German military adaptability. Hitler's command system eliminated the feedback mechanisms that enabled organizational learning. Professional officers who identified problems couldn't communicate concerns without risking dismissal. General Günther Blumentritt, Chief of Staff to Field Marshal von Kluge, documented this paralysis directly. He recorded how staff officers spent more time managing Hitler's expectations than analyzing actual battlefield conditions. The command structure became focused on avoiding Hitler's anger rather than winning campaigns. This represented fundamental organizational dysfunction that material advantages couldn't overcome. Germany possessed excellent equipment and well-trained soldiers throughout 1944. But the command system couldn't effectively employ these resources because political considerations trumped military effectiveness. The political breakdown's consequences became undeniable during 1944's major campaigns. Operation Bagration in June-July 1944 destroyed German Army Group Center. Soviet forces eliminated 28 German divisions in Belarus with approximately 350,000 casualties. The Normandy invasion succeeded partly because German command structure prevented effective responses. Field Marshal Rommel couldn't deploy reserve divisions without Hitler's personal authorization. The July 20, 1944, assassination attempt accelerated command dysfunction dramatically. Hitler's suspicions of military officers intensified after surviving the bomb plot. More commanders faced dismissal or worse for suspected disloyalty regardless of military competence. By autumn 1944, the truth became undeniable even within Germany. The command structure had become incapable of conducting effective defensive operations. Verify source. Exact casualty figures for Operation Bagration vary between sources. Germany's political breakdown revealed fundamental principles about military organizations. Effective military forces require command structures that enable adaptation under pressure. Political loyalty cannot substitute for professional competence in complex operations. But the situation was more complex than simple dictatorship versus professional military. Many German officers genuinely supported Hitler's political objectives even while questioning tactics. The command dysfunction resulted from systematic elimination of dissenting voices over several years. This created organizational culture where conformity became more important than effectiveness. The stakes were about to escalate beyond immediate military consequences. The dysfunctional command structure prevented any organized attempt to negotiate acceptable peace terms. Officers who might have pursued diplomatic alternatives either supported fighting to the end or lacked authority. This extended World War II's duration and increased overall casualties substantially. The political breakdown that made defeat inevitable demonstrated how organizational dysfunction compounds military challenges. Germany entered World War II with arguably the world's most professional military establishment. By 1944, that same military had become systematically incapable of effective operations. The transformation resulted from deliberate decisions prioritizing political control over military effectiveness. Modern military organizations study this case when examining civil-military relations. The importance of maintaining professional military advice appears throughout current doctrine. Understanding how political interference degrades military capability shapes institutional design. The German experience showed that technological advantages and soldier quality cannot overcome command dysfunction. Allied forces defeated Germany despite facing superior equipment in many categories. Organizational effectiveness proved more important than material advantages. The political breakdown affected not just military outcomes but Germany's entire wartime governance. Resource allocation decisions became divorced from strategic reality. Industrial planning continued for operations that Germany lacked capacity to execute. This wasted scarce resources that might have extended defensive capabilities. The command dysfunction influenced World War II's final year fundamentally. Germany's inability to adapt prolonged fighting and increased casualties on all sides. Understanding why this breakdown occurred helps explain how World War II concluded. The case demonstrates that military organizations require institutional structures protecting professional judgment. Political leadership must balance control with enabling military effectiveness. When that balance fails, even powerful militaries become systematically dysfunctional. To understand what happened next, watch our analysis of Germany's final campaigns and the collapse of organized resistance. What World War II decision should we examine next? Let us know in the comments. This decision remains one of the most studied moments of World War II.